If you don't have a Bible, if you don't own one, please feel free to take that one home with you as a gift from us. Um, but if you do have your Bible, would you open there with me? Genesis 11. We'll be in verses 1 through 9. Again, that's Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Please follow along with me as I read, starting in chapter 11, verse 1. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had bricks for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us make ourselves a city and a tower with its tops in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore the name was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth.
Well, we will continue in our Genesis series this morning, and we're in the Tower of Babel. Most people skip this section. We uh, we naturally build our lives on the tower of I, me, mine. We naturally, it comes as instinct to build our lives on I, me, mine. Think of the phrase, look out for who? Look out for number one, I, me, mine. I think of, when you enter a room and it's a potluck, right? There's food to be had. And I think all the way back to when I was little with my brother. If we're having pizza for an evening dinner together, there'd be a big pizza out there. We would run into the room. We would each look for the biggest piece and immediately plant our thumb right in the middle of it. It's mine. That pizza's mine. The biggest piece is mine. You and I, we don't naturally change our minds, do we? I know what's right. I know. But we do naturally judge other people and know they are wrong or evil. I, me, mine. But we're really kind of unaware of our own pride, aren't we? I had my first pastoral job and grew up here in Maryland in Howard County, but was out in Dallas after seminary. And I had this job in the South. And in the South, you don't dance or drink or hang with those who do. That's kind of the culture there in the South, at least this years ago at my job, and this church that they have more of like kind of a Baptist feel, to it, and more legalistic and tight. And I was there as a young pastor, and I was given by one of the young adults a couple loaves of chocolate bread, and it so happened I also had some chocolate stout beer. And so I thought this will be great. I'll bring both into the office. And with my intern today at lunch, we'll have some chocolate bread and some chocolate stout. We had that, and I threw it away in the beer bottles in the trash can in my church office. And that night, Esperanza found these beer bottles. She was the custodian at the time, and took them to my executive pastor, a staff of 35 some people, and he was over all of us. And he said, Matt, the next day, holding these two beer bottles, what are you doing? I said, it's no big deal. I just had some chocolates down. Chocolate. I was just totally oblivious to the culture, totally oblivious to the standards of our staff there. And he said, Matt, you have a pride problem. Right? It's kind of like the blinders were pulled back. And he goes, what I want you to do, I want you to talk to some people above you that you report to, talk to some people that report to you, and talk to people in your ministry. And I'll never forget, I was talking with my intern, the same one I had that chocolate stout with, and that was chocolate loaves of bread, and was interviewing him these questions that Brant had given me. And this intern said to me, Matt, he's right. One example he gave was, you don't listen. You don't ask questions. You come in teaching, talking, and preaching. I, me, mine. We all naturally, it's knee jerk reaction to us, intrinsically to who we are, build our lives on I, me, mine. If we are going to build in a different way, it takes a conscious choice to run into the room and the pizza and say, there's the biggest piece. Do you want it? Where has pride left pain in your life? Proverbs 16:18 says, pride comes before the fall. 1 Corinthians 10:12 says, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. This morning, we just want to look at the story of the Tower of Babel, a tower built on I, me, mine. We'll tell the story, and then I'm just going to pause. We'll stand back, and I'm going to ask what I think are some pretty painful questions, a bit of a scalpel time for us, even as we head into this season of Lent, where we remember our frailty and our sinfulness. All right, so I'll tell the story of Genesis chapter 11, then we'll step back and ask a handful of painful questions together. Let's get into the story this morning. Now, the whole earth had one language and the same words, and as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. Or here's the setting. We've just had chapter 10 of Genesis, and in chapter 10, we get kind of a genealogy of the nations, ethnographic, geopolitical, a map of all the nations that exist at this time. Noah has made it through the flood and has his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And now there's this genealogy in chapter 10. And there's 70 nations captured, as though to say there's a totality. 70 is this number of totality. This is all the nations on the earth descended from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This is kind of a scattering of all that exists at this time. And what we read when we read Genesis chapter 10 is that they all have different languages. They're sectioned off in different places. They are scattered. Which was God's original intent for his creation, which is to say, go and fill the earth and bring my glory and my name and my fame everywhere as you live in honoring and glorying me and loving and caring for one another. But we notice in this situation, it's really not going as it ought to. This is the third kind of cycle of God's judgment. From the fall with Adam and Eve to Noah and the flood, and now to the Tower of Babel, we have this descendant line, and we can focus in as Moses does as he writes into this one piece of the line, Ham's line, which is the second son of Noah. If you remember in chapter 9, Ham was the one who shamed his father. Noah shamed himself through his drunkenness and his actions. And then Ham comes in and he kind of posts it out. I mean, he shoots it all over Instagram. It's like, what a shameful guy. He's just shaming him there. And the other two brothers back their ways in as order to protect Noah's reputation and care for him, even in that moment of his shame. And we have Ham's descendants. And in Ham's descendants, we see kind of all the enemies of Israel. We see Egypt, we see Babylon, we see Assyria, we see the Philistines and the Canaanites, and kind of everyone who's going to be against God's people. In a really perverted and distorted and disgusting way, people in our own American heritage have used Ham's line to act in racist and enslave others. Disgusting. In the middle of Ham's line, though, we focus in on Nimrod, right? You Nimrod. Man, what a name, right? We even use it today because of this moment. Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. This is verse 9 of chapter 10. It's the beginning of his kingdom, and we focus in, the map kind of focus in, and was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From the land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh. So he's a builder of these big cities. He's a warrior. He's a man of violence and city building. And one of the cities he builds is Babylon, right here, kind of in this Mesopotamia area, right with the Tigris and the Euphrates, and right in this hub. They're coming from the east, and the east is that idea of separation from God. So this descendancy of Ham that's going to create this city right on the plains of Shinar, the origin story of Babylon we get in chapter 11. So in chapter 10, we see that everyone is scattered and they all have different languages. And in chapter 11, in a sense, we get, how'd we get here? Through the person of Nimrod and the building of Babylon. Nimrod, poignantly and purposefully, is his name means we shall rebel. I, me, mine. And the story goes on to a building. Verse 3, they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens. Technological advance in itself is neutral in a sense, right? Here, Nimrod and the others building this city say, come, let's build a city, and let us, the Hebrew says, bricks. Let us make bricks with mortar. And instead of taking misshapen stone and trying to shape in them, now they have these bricks made and they're burned and furnace for mortar. And we get this temple, this tower built. Let's build a city and a tower, like the ancient ziggurats. Temenanki is maybe the most known, right there in Babylon. The foundation, in a sense, the ruins of the foundation still remain even today. And there's nothing wrong with technology. In their unity, they have this mighty power to move things forward. And we can move things forward in technology for great, amazing purposes. I mean, think of medicine and all the diseases that we don't have to worry about today that were killing thousands yesterday. Think of the TV I used to watch growing up. I mean, that thing was like this wide. A tube, right? As a tube. And I remember having to go up to it to change the channel. And we had a cable box where you flipped it from A to B and you hit cable and you literally push down buttons to move the channels. I'm so glad for my new TV. It's only a couple $100. It's like razor thin and super sharp. I'm like, hey, that is nice. I was explaining to my kids the Walkman the other day, where you had to put a cassette tape in there. I used to put DC Talks, Jesus Freak in there, and I'd put it in there and I'd mow yards and I'd flip it over and listen to Jars of Clay. Then I remember explaining a Discman. Well, now I have Spotify. I can listen to anything, anywhere, any song I want. I love that. The printing press is a wonderful thing. You can distribute and read the Bible from it, or you can distribute and read pornography. Tech is not the problem, our hearts are. Tech is not the problem, technology is not the problem, our hearts are. Verse 4 continues, let's build a city and a tower with its top to the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed. Self promotion and self protection, self provision, self exaltation and self preservation. I must promote myself to make a name for myself, that my legacy would go on and you would praise me. Sometimes I'll get nervous before a sermon, particularly if it's a large crowd or going to a new space. And why? Because I want you to think I'm a great preacher. It's insidious, isn't it? It's unseen. Let me make a name for myself, build my identity through my accomplishments and my achievements. Find my worth and value in what I do or where I go, what I can achieve, how high I can get. That you would worship me ultimately, not the God who's given me the gifts. Let us make a name and let us not be dispersed. I will provide, I will protect, I will preserve, I will stay huddled in this space to keep a safety for myself. I will build a wall around this city and this tower that reaches to the skies, not just to make a name for myself, but to protect myself and to stay right here huddled up with all the resources I have and use them for me. The me centered life is a fear centered life. The pride centered life is a fear centered life. Pride and fear can compel you or paralyze you, right? It can say, I can or I can't. In this case, it's saying, I can, but it can also say, I can't, which is to say, I don't have what it takes. I got paralyzed by fear. Here it's saying, I do have what it takes to make a great name and to protect and provide for myself. I am my own God. I must, I need, I will get. And this is in stark contrast to God's very command and his design right here in the book of Genesis. Right in the book of Genesis, we read this mantra all through it. Go forth, right? Scatter and multiply. Fill the earth. Be fruitful and multiply. Chapter 1, verse 28. God blessed Adam and Eve. He said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over all, right? Be fruitful and multiply. Go and fill, scatter. Take my glory, God says, everywhere. Live for me wherever you go. Scatter my glory. Give yourself selflessly, lovingly to me and to others. But the I, me, mine life, the Babel life, the Nimrod life, says, no, I will stay right here. I will make a great name for myself. I will not scatter. I will not glorify you. I will glorify self and provide for self. It's what Augustine would say is the really core issue of our lives, the inward turned heart. He writes about it in the city of God, right, versus the city of man, right? There's this way of living for I, me, mine, or for God, you, and others. After Noah makes his way through the flood, the command is repeated again. Go be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth, multiply, fill it, chapter 9, verse 1. And then again in chapter 9, verse 7, over and over again, the command and the design for God's creation is clear. See, he had intended that they would scatter, most likely even languages and cultures would sprout up naturally as people live to glorify God in the different areas of their families and cities, to live for him and glorify him and make his name great and expend their resources for the kindness and good and love of others, not for self. And naturally, there would be a diversity and the glory of a unity focused around the worship of our God. But here, Nimrod and the others say, no, we won't do it. Think of when Jesus comes on the scene and he teaches us how to pray. What does he say? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, right? Hallowed be, glory be to your name, not mine. Your kingdom come, not mine. Your ways, not mine. Or the great commandment to love God and love others, right? To place him first, to place others first. Our kids go to a really great sports camp called Summer's Best 2 Weeks. It's really amazing. It's up in Pennsylvania, yeah, and we got some deer footers down here. My son and his friend. That's a good camp too. Summer's Best 2 Weeks. They've got this mantra. It says, "I am third." It's a mantra they teach all through camp, which means God, others, me. A new pyramid, a new tower to build centered on the glory of God and the giving of self to one another. The story continues in verse 5. Lest we be dispersed over the face of the earth. And listen, verse 5, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. I love the irony. It's kind of just good writing. The phrase is repeated again and in verse 7. Come, God says, the triune God, let us go down there and confuse their language. You see what's happening? This civilization is building a temple, a tower on I, me, mine. Let's make a great name for ourselves. Let's protect ourselves and preserve ourselves. We must do this for us. I am my provider. I am my exalter. And God in the heavens comes down. This great mighty tower, so tall, so tiny, so little. The God of the heavens looks down and he comes down to it. It didn't even hit his radar. In his might and his majesty, he comes down to us. And God, the triune God, says, let us go down and confuse their language. It's in direct parallel to the gathering of humanity that says, hey, let us do this, let us do that. And the Hebrew even overlaps all these consonants in kind of a similar kind of way to say, just as you had planned this, God had planned this. And it's in direct contrary movement to your plans. He says of them, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Which is not a good thing, by the way. This is only the beginning of what they will do. They will unify together to bring more disaster and destruction on God's creation and in his civilizations. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. They'll just keep using their own resources just for themselves as they look past and over the needy and even step on them to get their way or to bring injustice or to bring glory to their own name rather than to the glory of God, who's the other giving, loving God. So it's a severe mercy that the Lord steps in at this moment to break up their plans. In contrast, in the New Testament, we read this moment in Romans chapter 1. He talks about the beginnings of creation and the wrath of God revealed over those who disobey and say, I will not serve this God. And they go their own ways. And this phrase, it's a really haunting phrase, flows through the passage of Romans chapter 1. It says, therefore, God gave them up to their lusts. You see it? God steps back and doesn't intervene in that circumstance. And that's a moment in a sense of his wrath. He's saying, fine, have it your way. Go your way. Pursue life in other places. Pursue your own vain glory. It will bring disaster on your life when you disobey my commands and live for yourself. But here he says, let's go in and do something about this. Let's go in and act. Let's go break up that relationship which you should not be in. You say you love the Lord, but you're dating this one that does not know and love the Lord. Let's break that thing up, a severe mercy. Perhaps a losing of a job that you had given yourself to fully to, where your full identity and it absorbed every piece of you, is bringing shrapnel in your family because of how much you loved and worshiped that job. A severe mercy even of losing it. God stepping in. And what does he do when he steps in? He confuses their language that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. He confused them, Babel. In Akkadian, Babel is the word gate of the gods. Right, that's a civilization here, right? That would say, this is the gate to the gods. We're getting to heaven and bringing heaven down. Oh, glorious us. But the Hebrew phoneme, right, Babel, is to confuse. It's much like Nabel, which is fool. God confuses their language as if to say, don't be a Nimrod. Don't be a Nimrod. And he disperses them, he sends them out and scatters them, that they might live in the command and the design that God had for them over all nations, scattered over all the earth, to actually begin bringing him glory, not living for self. Pride. But God's plans are not thwarted, right? If we know the whole story of the scriptures, it's really amazing what happens next. We trace the other person in the line of Shem, one of Noah's sons, Peleg. And through Peleg, we see down to Abraham. And in Abraham, we get this blessing that God is going to bless all nations, all tribes, all tongues. And then we get to the New Testament and we see in the line of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, Jesus shows up and he does just that. He just pours out blessing to all nations. He preaches the good news of the gospel that we sinful, prideful people are forgiven for our sin by Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. He lives the life we do not. He lives this upside down life of others first, God first, right? He is obedient every step of the way. And then there's this amazing moment. Jesus has ascended into heaven. And in Acts chapter 2, we have Pentecost. And there's all these different languages, and they're all together in Jerusalem. It's kind of funny because the church is huddled up in Jerusalem at the time. And the disciples are all right there. And then the Spirit comes, and the good news of the gospel comes in one language, but all languages can hear it and understand it. And they're all knit in this new Spirit language of God, knit by the Holy Spirit, where they worship one God and they see Jesus as King and Savior, and He does what we did not do. And then at the end of the scriptures in Revelation chapter 7, we get this. When Jesus returns and John looked up, and behold, there's a great multitude that no one could number from every nation, all tribes and peoples, languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes with palm branches in their hands, crying out in one loud voice, "Salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and unto the Lamb." What we in our pride try to assemble as a me centered life where I find glory and all we find is strife and anger and anxiety, trying to cling to and provide for self. What we in our own lives, when we live by pride, even unknown as we stomp on others to get ahead, what we try and do in the buildings we try and build, in even in our families, in our workplaces, in our personal lives, it cannot be thwarted by the grace of God and His plan. When He says, "Live for me," the one who has lived for you fully. All right, what I want to do, I want to just kind of step back and ask a few questions as we head into the Lent season. Here's the season of Lent begins this Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. And you can grab one of these Lent guides as you go out this morning if you'd like to do this along with us as an individual or as a family. And I want to ask some questions to kind of scalpel at the areas of pride in our life, the I, me, mine that might be bringing discord in relationships, a crumbling in your relationship with God, a closed mindedness to your care of others, your own pride, my own pride. I want to ask us some questions, and in a sense, to say, let's, in the Lent season, dismantle the tower we build of our lives, which says, I, me, mine. Because, by the way, there is no joy in this kind of life. There's only fear to say, I must build a life that validates me. Or I must be my ultimate provider. There is no good God who gives me validation by the grace of His Son, makes me a son or daughter by grace. And there's no good God who is sovereign over my life and walks with me now as my provider, even if I've lost my job. The other the glorying of God, realizing who He is and living for Him, and the other giving of our lives to others is really a joy filled life because we realize, wow, what a God we have who makes me who I am and works through me for His glorious good purposes. And Lent is a season to remember I'm not that God. I am frail and I am sinful. It's a historic moment in the church calendar that we have been observing as the much like we do Advent, as a time, in this case for Lent, in preparation for Easter. So again, please snag one of these guides and do come on Ash Wednesday, this Wednesday, to kick off this season heading into Easter, that we might realize our frailty and our sinfulness, and it might be so freeing and joy giving to us as we cling to Christ, not ourselves. But now, as we go through these questions, would you listen for questions that you might return to? Maybe the Spirit tweaks you with this or that question that you might return to as you reflect in this Lenten season heading into Easter. All right. Here's the first question. I made it the most broad because I think it captures the main principle of this passage, which is this: how is pride harming you? How is your pride harming you or your relationship with God or others? Perhaps let me even before we get into some of these ways to consider this, perhaps you find it hard to spend time with the Lord, to sit with Him in prayer or reading the scriptures, because kind of the root of that is, I don't need Him. I've got this. I'll go through my life without Him. I don't need to hear from His commands, listen to His designs, build my life on Him and His ways because I'm fine, right? I don't need to talk to Him or listen to Him. How is pride harming you? Let's go even just to Exodus chapter 20, which is the Ten Commandments. This is where God gives these life giving commands that we might live in a way that flourishes, right? As we place Him first and obey Him with our lives. So, command number one is, you shall have no other gods before me. Let's just start there in our pride. Where have we made something or someone else God before our God? Your workplace has become your primary provider and place of exaltation. A relationship in your life is now your primary God, where you find your ultimate validation and ultimate embrace. Let's go to command number four. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Labor on 6 days, but on the seventh, rest. Step back as if to say, I'm not God. I'm not my ultimate provider. I can actually enjoy my God and rest with Him, enjoy relationship with Him. But you find yourself completely worn out and anxious and angry because of your lack of rest. I mean, dare we not go to things like, you shall not covet, right? Like, but we look at our neighbors' things or our coworkers' advancement. We say, oh, they should never have, I deserve that. How is pride hurting your relationship with God, yourself, or others? Consider your relationships, and here's kind of some sub questions to ask in this one. Consider your relationships. So we just considered the Ten Commandments. When was the last time you said, I'm sorry? And we're really specific about it. And when was the last time you changed your mind or had empathy or understanding towards someone else who disagreed with you, particularly of a different political party? Do you lie? Do I lie? Do we exaggerate in order to look good? Or do you hide things that hurt or the struggles in your life in order to look strong? How do you approach people, with questions and curiosity, or to tell, preach, and judge? Do you use people or do you love people? Perhaps these are a bit too cutting. All right, let's go to the next one. Why do you work? Why do you work? We read in the text, right? Let us build, let us brick bricks and make towers, right? Let us do this to make a name for ourselves. What's the purpose of why you work? Colossians 3:23 captures one for us, the primary one. Whatever we do, however we work heartily as for the Lord, not for men. Let us go to work for our God, not our boss, our boss who we love and have to please so much that we find validation in her or him, or our boss that we hate so much, and I'm not going to work hard for him or her. And no, why do we work? How do we bring glory to God through our excellent, creative, risky, good work? How do we think of the relationships in our workplace? Do we elevate ourselves and steal credit from others? To exalt ourselves and bring preservation for ourselves, to promote ourselves and provide for ourselves, to move past others and stomp on them as we go? How or why do you work? Is God working against you? Question number 3. Where might God be working against your plans? These are my plans, but here we see, like in the text, God came down confused and dispersed. Where might God be working in spite of you or against you, or bringing a severe mercy to disrupt your plans in a relationship or a trajectory in work, or this kind of thing where he is stepping in and working against you? I remember when we were trying to purchase a building, and now God has so graciously given us this one. And it was the beginning of the pursuit of a building, and there was a building right up the road on Colesville, and I thought, man, we've been praying for years for it. Over 4 or 5 years, been praying specifically for it. Right here at Four Corners, Marvin Memorial, and we put an offer on it. Now, we had helped an Ethiopian church get going, and a wonderful pastor, Four Corners Evangelical Ethiopian. We had helped them get going. We'd helped fund them, and they were part of the network. And guess what? They got to purchase the building. And I remember thinking, Lord, what are you doing? And I remember distinctly, it's almost as if he came down and said it to me. This is not about your kingdom or your plans, Matt. This is about his kingdom, his glory, his plans, and in that case, to reach so many Ethiopians through Four Corners Ethiopian Evangelical. Praise our God. Where is God working against you? Here's question 4. How do you stay, cling, or huddle? Oh, God's given me these gifts, these resources, this time for me, me, me. Where you not going, filling, glorifying, using what God has given you for his glory and purposes. Maybe perhaps you're not going to serve or lead within the church or for the work of the kingdom because, man, that'd be too risky or that'd take too much time or effort. I cannot jump in there. I just got married. How could I serve or lead? I just had a kid. No way, I'm out. It's like 15 years later, they're a teenager, and you're like, all right, it's time to step back in. How do we stay, cling, huddle, or hoard? You can't join my 3D. We're full. Perhaps you're hoarding your money, not giving generously for the work of the Lord. Here's one more. We've got 2 more. Are your causes his causes? They all huddle up in this passage. Come, let us. And they all link arms in this one giant clause. And I would just say, not every sign needs to be in your front yard. That we need to be a little more discriminative about the huge umbrellas of signs because you cannot align with everything in the right and you cannot align with everything in the left, right? Politically, our giant umbrellas, I want to be in or out, right? Either you're all in for the whole cause, the whole platform, or you're out, you're shunned. And we need to be a bit more discriminate about what and how we support, not just linking arms in the whole cause. Last one here. Ooh, is technology helping or hurting you? All right, everyone, and we've done this before, but we're going to do it again. Everyone get out your phone. Now do this. It's going to feel awkward, but do this. Put it right here. How is technology, interaction with technology, shaping the very self-centered, maybe self-shaped life of your life? How's it stealing time from things that might bring flourishing in you personally and in your relationships? Technology can be wonderful, right? We brick bricks. It's good to move forward, but how is it helping or harming you? We'll close with communion because here's the problem. And you might say now, I, me, mine, but tweak it with moralism. Oh, I will do better. I will get after this in my life. I will live for others. I will live for God. And you'll just be driven by fear and your self-moralism and building your own towers of do-it-betterness. I'll keep the commandments. I'll go to church more. I'll be better. I'll live for others. I'll be kind and serve others. But that's not the good news of the gospel. The good news of the gospel, which dismantles I, me, mine, is that again, God comes down. And Jesus, who has the glory of heavens, as God Himself, humbles Himself and takes the form of man. And He finds Himself in the form of a servant, actually. And He empties Himself and He becomes obedient to death, even death on a cross, to pay for your sin and pride and my sin and pride. To say you're forgiven and embrace the self-exaltation you are seeking for validation, you can have by grace as a son or daughter of the one true God. If you just receive it by grace, what He has done, not what you do. And the protection, the preservation you long for, you are protected by the very Son of God who's taken the wrath of God in your place now and forever, eternally. And He is coming back to make a new nation of all tribes, tongues, and nations, so diverse but so unified in their worship and glory of our God. So come, if you trust in Jesus, come, take and eat, and remember what He's done for you to make you who you are, to protect you, to provide for you in Christ. And if you're not yet trusting in Him, would you trust in Him this morning? Perhaps, instead of taking communion, would you bow your head and maybe put out your hands or come to the table, but don't take communion, but with your hands out, just receive Him, trust in Him. So receive your provision. I receive your validation. I am your son or daughter by grace. Come, take and eat when you're ready.